Throughout our lives, we've all had numerous teachers, and hopefully we've been able to learn something from all of them. Your preschool teacher taught you how to color inside the lines, play nice, and share. Your pre-calc teacher may have taught you about the unit circle and complex numbers. And school teachers aren't the only people we learn from. Our parents impart lessons to us from the moment we're born, and we're all constantly learning from our siblings and peers as we grow up. For kids and adults alike, each day is a chance for us to learn something new from those around us about how to live better lives. But humans aren't the only ones who can impart wisdom. I would argue that some important lessons can be learned from those we might least expect to teach us anything. Dogs. They're goofy and crazy, and not always the brightest, but I believe that taking a closer look at their lives can tell us a whole lot about how we should live our own. So, what are the lessons we can learn from dogs? Number 1, radical self-acceptance. Most research suggests that dogs have a limited perception of self-identity, at least visually. For example, they fail a famous self-awareness test called the mirror mark test, which was first developed in the 1970s by American psychologist Gordon Gallup Jr. In this test, scientists take an animal and place a visible mark on a part of its body they can't see, like its face. Then the animal is placed in front of a mirror, and scientists see if it will investigate the marking. It's basically a test to see whether or not the animal realizes that the image in the mirror is them, not another animal. Species like elephants and chimps will often repeatedly touch the mark or even try to rub it off. They get, hey, that's me in the mirror, and there's something weird on my face. Dogs, on the other hand, tend to respond to the image as if it's another dog, and they'll try to play with it or bark at it. Other times, they ignore the mirror altogether. Researchers have taken this to mean that dogs don't have visual self-recognition. While our first instinct may be to pity our dog's lack of self-awareness, I would argue that this trait works in favor of their happiness. Dogs don't spend hours of their lives staring at themselves in the mirror, noting all of their flaws and imperfections. If they ever do think about it, they accept their physical appearance as a matter of fact, not something to dwell on or obsess about. In fact, some of the happiest dogs I've ever met are objectively a little overweight, or some say, chunky. Dogs are way more focused on their senses and taking in the world around them, which allows them to be much less introspective than us humans. In a world saturated with social media, it can be nearly impossible not to struggle with self-image, especially for teenagers. In a recent survey conducted by the Mental Health Foundation, 40% of teenagers reported that images on social media cause them to worry about their body image. Many of us spend so much time chasing the flawless look and curating the perfect posts. Of course, there's nothing wrong with wanting to look nice, but imagine what might be possible if we devoted some of that time and mental energy to bettering other aspects of ourselves or learning new things. Dogs teach us that maybe being less introspective would be the best thing possible for our relationship with ourselves. But what about our relationships with others? Turns out dogs can lend us a paw in that domain as well. The second lesson from our canine friends: forgive readily. If you're a dog owner, you probably accidentally kicked or tripped over your dog and frantically tried to assure them you didn't mean it. I know I've done this before. My dog's pretty small and has a habit of getting caught underfoot. Although research suggests dogs might not fully understand the concept of an accident, there's a lot of evidence suggesting your dog has probably forgiven you within a few seconds when something like this happens. The fact is that as a species, dogs are exceptionally forgiving. In 2020, a group of researchers at Butler University set out to observe how dogs forgive and uncover the reason why. For their study, the researchers observed a group of 177 dogs who regularly visited the same 2-acre dog park over the span of 8 months. Throughout the study, 14 minor fights broke out, and the researchers observed the reconciliation behaviors that often followed. The scientists came away from the study with the uncertainty reduction hypothesis, which suggests that dogs forgive in order to decrease the likelihood of another conflict and lower the stress level of the social group. Forgiveness and reconciliation reduces the stress associated with worrying about a future conflict, and it eliminates the task of having to keep track of who's a friend and who's a foe. The entire social group is better off when stress is reduced. Let's be honest, holding grudges is exhausting, and remembering who you're trying to avoid in the hallway or which group chat you should use to avoid texting the wrong person is a major mental drain. Dogs' ancestors first evolved to be reliant on others in their pack for food, safety, and warmth. The necessity of maintaining relationships in order to survive has given dogs a tendency to minimize conflict and preserve bonds. Humans first evolved this way as well, but as our society has advanced, this mindset seems to have eroded. I don't need to be on good terms with you to eat lunch this week or stay warm tonight. We're not as directly reliant on other humans for survival these days, and the result is an increasingly individualistic society where cutting people out and refusing to forgive is commonplace. Dogs remind us that holding on to conflict is a stressor, and forgiveness is the best choice in many instances, not only for our relationships, but also for our own wellness. There's one detail of the study I just mentioned that I found particularly interesting. The researchers often noticed that after the conflict took place, the dogs involved in the conflict spent more time together, regardless of if they had a pre-existing relationship. Isn't this somewhat of a radical idea? What if, instead of pushing people away, we use sincere conflict resolution to breed closeness and bring us together? Don't get me wrong, some relationships are flat out unhealthy, and sometimes cutting a person out of your life is absolutely the right thing to do. Abuse and toxicity are never okay. But sometimes I think we allow petty disagreements and small differences to place oversized wedges between ourselves and others. Remember, forgiveness is not about being best friends with everyone. It's about releasing feelings of resentment in your heart toward another person, regardless of if they deserve it. Dogs do a great job of this, and they remind us that it's beneficial to our own well-being. Alright, so we've talked about self-acceptance and forgiveness. What's the final lesson we can learn from our dogs? This one's the simplest, but I think it's the most important. Appreciate the little things. Making a dog happy is remarkably easy. Consider walks, for example. Most dogs go on walks every day, if not multiple times per day. In many cases, they're walking around the same block, going past the same places they've seen hundreds of times. And yet, many dogs get really excited at the sight of the leash. What if we took the same kind of joy in our own everyday activities? Or think of toys. Any dog owner will tell you, dogs will enjoy an empty toilet paper roll just as much as an expensive toy from the store. They'll chew the ugliest, most beat-up toy with as much joy as a brand new one. My dog has quite a few toys, and yet this one is one of her favorites. It's not an expensive toy, and it might not be particularly easy on the eyes at this point, but she's not concerned with surface appearance. Her only concern is how much fun she's having. For that matter, dogs take so much joy in simply seeing their owners every day. It doesn't matter if I'm gone for 2 days or 2 hours. I know that when I walk in the front door, my dog will jump over me excitedly. She sees me all the time, and yet my arrival home from school is one of the highlights of her day. Compared to dogs, how much affection do we show for our loved ones, even the ones we live with or see on a daily basis? I'm not saying you should look your friends in the face or jump on your parents when they get home from work. Obviously, that would be weird. But I think we can all do a little better with showing appreciation for our people. Many of us travel through life waiting for the perfect, amazing thing to pop up. We look forward to getting an amazing gift for our birthday, or getting away during the summer to a place we imagine is more ideal than home. We might dream about meeting the perfect person who will finally complete us. We imagine things in the future as so much greater than what's in the present. But what about all the gifts we have right in front of us? Dogs remind us to value the things that we do have, right now, even the things we do and the people we see every day. Even for those of us who don't own dogs, there are a plethora of lessons we can learn from them. Of course, we're very different creatures with different lives, brains, and relationships, but it can never hurt to examine how exactly our canine friends stay so happy. I'm not saying this is a key to success or fulfillment, but appreciating the little things, practicing forgiveness, and making an effort to accept ourselves more are sure to improve our lives, even if it's just a little bit. So, the next time a friend or acquaintance does something that upsets you, take a step back. Of course, it's okay to be upset, but do you need to hold on to those feelings for days and days? Letting it go might feel better than you would expect. As for self-image, getting off of social media and making an effort to be less introspective might go a long way. And as for the little joys in life, take a moment to pause. Give your little sibling a hug tonight. Appreciate your favorite snack or your most comfortable pair of sweatpants. And of course, if you have a dog, don't forget to give them extra hugs and kisses tonight. Again, I'm not saying this is some perfect formula for happiness. I don't believe there is one. But our dogs seem to have joy figured out, so I think it might be worth it to follow their lead. Thank you.